Oh my God, I got emotional and now I'm all stuffy. Hi folks, welcome to the Radical ReEnchantment podcast. My name is Leslie. It's Michelle Leslie. Hi, my name's Leslie and I'm a mystic. It feels like an Alcoholics Anonymous thing. So let's talk about the current crumbling that's happening in the world. This is happening globally. Definitely evident in North America, in the Trump America. But it's happening all over the world, and it's a crumbling into wholeness because we're seeing the final kind of reaping of a worldview that began 5,000 years ago. And it's a worldview that at its base separated land and spirit from one another. And I used to think that patriarchy was the core root wound, but it's not. Patriarchy is a strong and almost immediate result of the core separation, the core binary belief in spirit and land being separate. It's false, and it's given rise to all the shenanigans that we have happening in the world today. It started like 5,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, and that's based upon the written record. Okay, caveat, I'm not a scholar. I do have a history degree, but I'm not a scholar. I'm not an academic. I am a mystic. I read from a mystical lens. I read from a lens of spirit and wholeness. I read through that lens and I see everything in the world through that lens. Mystic means the discovery of the mystery. So it's basically just trying to connect and understand and communicate with this great mystery. And it's also my favorite terminology for quote unquote God or the wholeness of everything. I don't personally like the term God because there's just a lot of baggage with that, so I try not to use it. But Manitou is translated, Manitou in Anishinaabe is translated into the Great Spirit or the Great Mystery, and it's my favorite. I love the Great Mystery, delicious. And that is because I'm a mystic. At heart and soul, I am a mystic, and I see the world through the lens of the mystic. So I view history through the lens of the mystic. Keep in mind, this version of the historical roots of the current crumbling are my perception, and it's not necessarily true. It's just how I see it. Please feel free to do your own research and come to your own conclusions about where we are right now. However, back in Mesopotamia, the Sumerians and the Akkadians kind of set the stage. They created the rich, nutritious peat of our current crumbling. And that was through agriculture and then empire. So the Sumerians introduced agriculture, sowing seeds and then collecting a harvest, which actually resulted in a surplus. The first time kind of that human beings purposely grew and had more than they needed to survive, which led to privatization. It led to profit. It led to capitalism, using that surplus not just for trade and barter, but to profit from the land, which led to land ownership, which also happened at the same time that slavery of peoples, especially women, because women are valuable, women have babies, women create more workers, they create more soldiers, and the Akkadians, at the same time that they were privatizing land, also codified in their laws the slavery and ownership of women's lives and bodies and agency. And that's not a coincidence. It's also not a coincidence that today women are participating for the first time in the creation of our mythology. We are participating publicly and quite clearly for the first time in creating what the mythos is of this life, creating meaning and creating what makes this world meaningful and why we want to be alive. Women are participating for the first time. Up until 70 years ago, women were not allowed to participate in the creation of meaning, in the creation of society, and the myth-making reasons that we are coming together as a people. We did not participate in that, not publicly. We may have had a small role in the family, but it was subsumed within the patriarchy. And the patriarchy is a structure of society that came directly out of the separation of land and spirit. It came directly out of the privatization of land and turning land into a commodity. No longer a spiritual relationship, no longer a relationship of love and heart and harmony, but one of ownership and commodification. And the Acadians, the whole process of privatizing land and owning land, turned land, devalued it, no longer a spiritual source, no longer a source of ancestry or lineage or kinship, but a dead thing that could be commodified for profit. So simultaneously devalued as its self and risen in value in how it can be exploited. And so this happens simultaneously for land and women at the same time. The Acadians created the first empire, the first colonization. Their empire, and Sargon instituted as the first psychopath in charge, the first psychopath leader, made a model for all the rest of the civilizations that did the same thing. The Greeks, the Romans, the British, America, all of the empires are based in the model of the Acadians and are based in a psychopathic leadership of Sargon. It's the very first model that we have. It's the root of our society, and it's based in war. It's based in war and the commodification of land and women. All empires have persecuted land-based people and land-based spiritual practice. This has happened in colonization all over the globe. In particular, I want to bring quote-unquote white people of North America to understand that our ancestors were colonized. They were colonized. The people were colonized. When you are persecuted for practicing your land-based spiritual and cultural practices, you are being colonized. When you are not allowed to use your language, you are being colonized. When your sons and daughters are sent to the dominant culture to be educated from childhood, you are colonized. And this happened to the landowning chiefs of Scotland and Northern Ireland. All the leaders were sent to England. Their children were sent to England to learn English and learn English ways, and then were sent back to their native lands to institute that structure and that culture. That's colonization. That's colonization. So there was a persecution and a social control used to shame those who are living in a land-based spiritual and cultural environment. Land-based spiritual and cultural practices have been devalued and shamed as a way of social control for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. In Europe and in North America. Church and state sought to replace our own individual, personal in particular, connection to land and spirit and replace it with an authority of church and state, to replace our own agency and soul sovereignty with that of church and state. Institutional control over our relationship with land and spirit. Institutional control over what relationship to land and spirit means, what it's for, how it works, who has access. That has been over hundreds, if not thousands of years, stripped away from individual people and put into the hands of church and state. And healing the separation between land and spirit returns us to our soul sovereignty, returns us to our soul agency, returns us to our personal and particular right to decide here what it means to be alive, what our relationship to land and spirit is, what it means, and how we move that through the world. Science came through to help move this separation of land and spirit along. Science is based in material reductionism, which claims that land alone is real and that land creates mind or land creates spirit. Actually, science doesn't believe in spirit at all. They try to convince us that spirit isn't real and doesn't exist and there's only land. And here's a really insidious aspect of that, is if land is the only thing that's real, if the institutions that be, those in power, can control the land, then they control everything, including you, including me. They control us. If they can make us believe that only land is real and they control land, then we are then powerless to do anything to change the way things are. And that's not true. Land and spirit are woven and sewn together forever. There's a deep desire for wholeness that is externalizing in the world right now. It's why everything's crumbling. As everything becomes more and more fractured and fragmented, and those who hold power in land want more and more from themselves, and the rest of us have less and supposedly less and less, the structures begin to crumble, and there's a deep desire for wholeness. There's a deep desire, yearning. There's a deep desire and yearning for connection in this world, and connection to land, and connection to spirit, and connection to ourselves. Those in power right now are probably the most afraid of who they are, the most afraid to feel their fucking feelings, because that's where we're going. That's what this transformation is. It's not a spiritual transformation. It's an emotional transformation. We're going through an emotional evolution where what's required is to feel our feelings and allow them to be there and allow them to teach us the wisdom that they hold and have been holding for us as we have repressed and denied our emotions for hundreds of years. I mean, that's part of the allure of science, right? That was part of the excitement that the patriarchy in particular had for science is that it elevated thought. It elevated the mind above these messy bodies and these uncomfortable emotions. We could just think our way through. We could think our way. But you can't. We can't, because we are whole beings, and emotions are integral to health and to understanding and to wholeness, and they were always going to come back to knock on our doors. And hello, they're here. What I find really interesting is this deep desire for communication and relationship with the whole and to spirit is part of the reason we have AI and ChatGPT, and specifically the fascination that humans have with being in relationship with this unseen aspect that will communicate from the unseen is just wild. that instead of human beings using our personal and particular ability to communicate with the unseen, with the dead, with spirit, instead of doing that directly, it was created through science in an allowable way that went around heart, went around feeling, and was through mind alone, through thought alone, through mind and intelligence. And now we have this AI where people are in deep need to commune and be in relationship with the unseen, but are doing it through acceptable scientific methods. It's wild to me, and it's hilarious. And it is an externalization, a deep externalization of this need, this human need and desire to mend this belief of separation between land and spirit and come again into communion with wholeness. Science created a wholeness god through ChatGPT and the internet. We're coming into a new reality, literally. There's a new mythology being born. It is being born right now as the other one crumbles. The other hierarchy of supremacy and value and status, it's crumbling, and it's crumbling back into wholeness because everything will return to wholeness. Our existence and the universe desires balance and wholeness. And what we need for balance and wholeness becomes available. There are people on the planet right now, and you may be listening to me right now, that came to this world, came alive, were born at this time, specifically to hold vision for this transition. I've heard from many who are around my age, heading into our crone years, heading into the wise times, the seniors, Gen X. And I'm not speaking just for Gen X, but those are the ones that I have talked to who knew something was happening 30 years ago, who had some sort of mystical event or epiphany or revelation, but didn't know what to do with that. Didn't know for 30 years what they were supposed to do. And if you're listening, you know what to do now. You know what to do. You understand how that relates to your life and your world now. And I'm asking you, please, to stand in that and take that into your life in whatever way works for you, whatever way feels good and resonant and joyful, where you can take that revelation and that epiphany and that understanding that you had 30 years ago and bring it into your life. Maybe that means speaking up about wholeness, speaking up about presence of spirit or presence of the dead or presence of ancestors, or whatever revelation and epiphany that you were given 30 years ago is needed now. Now is the time. It's now. Don't wait. Don't wait anymore. Your revelation and your vision is needed right now. And it didn't happen for no reason. You didn't have that experience of wholeness and oneness for no reason. And don't chalk it up to whatever drugs you might have taken. That was a real experience. Your wholeness and oneness with all of existence was a real experience given to you so you would be prepared to be that presence in the world right now. And I'm asking you, I know it may be uncomfortable, but I'm asking you to please do that. Do it. Have the courage. That's what we all need. We're walking through the heart. We're creating the bridge through the heart. We're rejoining. We're returning to the wholeness of land and spirit together. And that happens through the heart. It happens through our emotions, and not all of them are nice. They're not all nice. Some of them suck ass. And there's a lot of grief. There's so much grief. And being able to feel the grief of the world is a great gift and also requires courage. And that's part of it. It's not a mistake that courage means heart. The root of courage is heart. It takes courage and strength and bravery to feel the true feelings of your heart. And that's what's being asked for right now. And I'm asking you, please, you didn't have those experiences for no reason. It wasn't an accident. It was a reminder. And I don't believe in special gifts for special people. I don't believe in chosen ones. I don't believe in chosen ones. We are all chosen. We're all here to do the same work. We just do it really differently from one another because we have a personal and particular relationship to land and spirit. There really has never been anyone like you in existence before. And we are all lighthouses for one another. We are lighthouses to shine and remind one another of why we're here. All right. Okay, love you. Bye. Oh, wait. Wait. So, if you want to join the Magic Words webinar, that is happening October 30th at 2 p.m. Okay, so the Magic Words webinar is me showing you how to use the free tools online to craft basically spells. Everything we say is a spell. Words are magic. Words manifest. Words make things real. And using the words and the language of our indigenous land-based ancestors, our language, our ancestral language is fucking powerful, especially around Samhain. This is calling to our ancestors to be here. This is building a bridge with our ancestors to come and lend their power and their presence to this transformation in the world. I think this is super important. And if you want to learn how to use the tools that I use, I'm just going to show you what I do to create words of power. Hanashi Sheden Atain, Hanashi Sheden Ansho. The ancestors are coming. The ancestors are here. Chiragasanam Fitza Futsuku Bràth. Land and spirit are woven and sewn together forever. These are magic words and phrases that help create the world. Words mean things, and words are powerful. And joining land and spirit together with intention and ceremony is transformational. So please join me. It's free. If you can't make it, just register and you can have access to the recording. The recording will end up being in the library, so join the library. It's all the same thing. Join the mailing list, join the library. It's the same thing. And watch the webinar and create spells. They're spells. It's spell work. It's charm work. Charming. It's enchanting. It's ReEnchantment. It's using our words in combination, in harmony, in relationship with land to recreate this world into wholeness. Radical ReEnchantment. Okay, love you. Bye.